You will be put into a position, all day long if necessary, where you can give. If the next day you rebel from that and want to take, you'll create a position where you can take. You create the cancer, love will create the healing. The template is the same. What you experience in this template is not. And be mindful of that. If you want to know of God, the more you do that, the more that you're going to find that you're put into these positions. What's doing that? And once you start to learn and extract meaning from these situations, when that salient event happens, you cry. When you know God, you'll know God. And you cannot be told how you're going to know God. And that's individual for each of you. You can't know God by hearing me. All you're hearing is an expression because of God. I want to finish up by talking about this give thing, this give and take thing. Like I talked about before, a taker is a detached energy. It is a disease. It takes in anticipation of being taken from. A taker deludes itself. It lies to itself. It justifies its own existence. It believes that it gives. How? It will strategically allow itself to be taken from, as if to justify its own existence. You must understand, giving and taking, giving and taking. Remember, these are not a pair. Giving and receiving are one. Giving, receiving. Give, receive. Taking in anticipation of being taken from. For example, let's talk about just energy. Think about an extrovert. People are deluding themselves when they think an extrovert is a giver. They're an entertainer. No. They leech your energy. An extrovert, a social butterfly, needs to suck your energy out. They drain you, and that's what gives them their vitality. This is why a lot of rock stars are really quiet until they get on stage. They're sucking your energy, and it's your energy that's animating them. They're addicted to social situations because they're dependent, like leeches, upon the attention that other people give them. Attention is giving energy. In introverts is the opposite. They are vulnerable, more vulnerable than the normal person, to having their energy leached from them. They get into a social situation and they feel their energy just leaving their body. They may not understand it that way, but because they're so attentive to everybody and everything, that's why these people are very descriptive writers and whatever. Because they're very detail-oriented, they're very attentive. Because of that, they get overwhelmed in a social situation. They're way too sensitive to it. They are attentive to everything, and because their energy leaves them when they're that way, because they're not in observance, they're attentive, the reality can take their energy away, and that weakens their aura, and then they're very sensitive. They feel out of place, they're just too awkward because they're having their energy taken. An ambivert is somebody who toggles between the two, depending on their current state and the situation. Now, most of my life I was an ambivert. But when I feel the spirit strong in me, when that happens, that's when I am not leeched and I am not leeching. My passion will be the same. My vitality, my energy, my emphasis is the same whether I'm talking to one individual or 500,000. It wouldn't matter because the energy at that point is coming from somewhere else. Infused inside, so coming within. I can relate to takers because I was converted to a taker in a lot of ways in this lifetime. And that's very important. Why? You've heard, he who overcomes. I'm not going to speak in Old English. What you were told is, he or she, they always emphasize male, that overcomes, their reward will be great. Those with understanding. See, a taker thinks of a reward is something that happens later. A good deed and reward. Sit, roll over, and you get a treat. For those of you that are waking up to your giving, as I am, and that is a slow process where you start to remember that you enjoy giving more, and that's where life is. That's the essence, the unquantifiable essence. Ask yourself some questions. When you're in the state of giving, you receive simultaneously. There are many of you that know what I'm talking about. So your reward is simultaneous. What is that reward? Describe it. Yeah, good luck with words. Secondly, say for example, maybe you were somebody that is here at this time to heal. What is the motive of a lifeguard when they jump into the water to save a swimmer? What is the reward that the lifeguard gets? Let's not even do a professional lifeguard. You're walking along the side of a river and you see someone in trouble. Without even thinking about it, you're already jumping in the water to save them. What is your reward? To one who overcomes, the reward will be great. If you come in as a healer and you acquire the corruption, they know you're a healer, you have a different energy about you, so they're on your butt. The moment you incarnate, your life sucks. Everything's coordinated around you. Low self-esteem, probably abused as a kid. You have perversion, maybe addictions, all of these things. However, now you can relate, can't you? You can relate to the taking energy. It's just like somebody who's sheltered and mom and dad keep the kids spoiled. They get everything they want. They have an easy life and they decide to study sociology and psychology. And they think what a great thing it would be to become a guidance counselor and help troubled teens. The problem that they run into that they're completely oblivious to, but the young teen is not oblivious to, is that they have no credibility with the teenager. The teenager knows right away that whoever is trying to give them advice doesn't understand. They didn't go through it themselves. They didn't overcome anything. They are not qualified to give advice. They can't relate to them. They don't know what it's like. They're just not qualified to give advice. And you know that. You know that if you're looking at the prissy counselor that has had everything handed to them, you can't take them seriously. You resent any advice they give you because you know that they probably wouldn't be able to handle what you've already gone through. And it's a direct paradox. It's a contradiction. Well, if you come in and you acquire unknowingly, which is why it's credible, and then you overcome while being able to relate. Because as you overcome, as you begin the process of overcoming, that usually precedes knowing of any negative control on this planet. It certainly did for me. I wasn't a conspiracy theorist, like I told you before. I had no idea. I thought that was myth. I thought that was a joke. But it was essential that I wanted to repair myself before I knew what was around me. For me, for my path. It's important because my motive came from within me. Then I was shown, but the interesting thing is, as I go through this process, that, okay, at least I understand what it feels like to be a taker, to have those desires. I may not be as intellectual or have the mental capacity as the scales higher than me that are running this show. However, the energy is the same,